Andrew, you've been coaching clients for a long time, working with a lot of great people. How often do people say, I just didn't have time to get something done?
As business owners, it happens very often.
We have a lot of demands. We have accounting, we have marketing, sales, HR. Well, on today's show, we're going to teach the listeners 3 strict rules that you can use to set yourself free, to create that mind freedom, to make sure that you don't find yourself in a meeting that you really don't need to be in, to make sure you don't find yourself doing something that's not gaining you traction, to make sure that you're not wasting your time. All this and more on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
Thrive Time Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with internship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas.
Sonic boom.
Yes, and yes, Matt Kline is on the line. Matt Kline, how are you, sir?
I am doing awesome. How are you guys?
Brother, I'm excited to talk to you here. You're up there in Denver, is that correct?
We are. Yep.
Where the air smells like marijuana and the view is beautiful. Is that an accurate description of Denver this time of year there, Matt? Or?
There could not be more of an accurate description of Denver any time of the year.
I got to ask you, and I want to know this, and I'm not asking for your opinion on the legalization of marijuana, but when you walk around in Denver, how often can you smell, on average, when you're pumping gas, when you're going to get some Carl's Jr., when you're going to a Burger King, how often can you smell marijuana in the air?
Every 3 interactions.
Are you serious?
Every 3rd interaction you have, you can probably smell it.
And how often is it a guy who is giggling? How often do you run into a giggling man?
I would imagine more people smile here than normal.
Okay, that's fair. Now we continue. On today's show, we're going to talk about 3 strict rules that will set you free. 3 strict rules that will set you free. Now, a lot of times, as a business owner, Matt, we have a lot of stuff to do during the day. A lot of stuff. A lot of things.
Sure.
A lot of requests for our time, a lot of choices we could make. And if we don't have strict rules for how we live our lives, every decision becomes like, well, I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? You can almost become overwhelmed with the profundity of trying to make any decisions at all because you have no rules. And then you end up spending your day looking into a box fan saying this.
La, 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 Luke, I am your...
So what I'm going to do on today's show is I'm going to ask Matt Kline in just a moment for a strict rule that you adhere by that has made your business life easier. Now, we have not colluded on this. We have not talked about this ahead of time. This is something because you have how many different? You have 2 OXI Freshes going right now, Matt. Do you have 2 or 3 or what?
Personally, I have 2.
2 OXI Fresh franchises that you're running, 2 that you own. And then you also are a franchise brand developer. So if somebody wants to buy a franchise, they have to reach out to you. And so there's a lot of stuff going on there. So I'm going to go with my rule, number 1. And I'd like to hear your rule after Josh's rule. So you can one-up both of us. My rule, number 1, is I write everything down, and I never try to remember anything. Now, I'm just telling you this. I do this because there's so much going on. So today, Pat Campbell, radio show host, reached out to me and said, Clay, you want to be on the show today? I want to have you on the show. I want to get your take about ABC 1, 2, 3. I said, yeah, absolutely, yes. But I didn't know what time. So I look at my calendar because, again, I write everything down and I never try to remember. I look at my calendar and I recognize in order to make that interview work, I have to reorganize or reschedule my meeting with Charles, move it to a different time. So I called Charles. Charles, can you move to a different time? This is a real thing. But Pat said, hey, could you be on the show today? I want to have you on the show. And I didn't know off memory that I'm meeting with Josh with Living Water Irrigation at 8. So I looked at my calendar, recognized I can't do 8 because that's when I'm meeting with Josh. I can't do 9 because I have a meeting with Charles, so I got to figure out who's willing to move. Is somebody going to move? If someone can't move, the thing I committed to first has to stay, and the thing that I didn't commit to can't stay. Anyway, the point is, I don't try to remember things. I just write it down. I have a calendar. I have a to-do list. I look at it. So tonight, my PR booking lady, CJ, she's a phenomenal professional in the world of public relations. She says, can you be on the Andrea Kay show tonight at 8:30? Yet again, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight, so I looked at my calendar, and it occurred to me that, okay, I have to take my son to football, and the game's over at 7:30, thus making it possible. There it is. So, Matt, I want to get your take on this. What is a rule that you have that allows you to stay sane, where you just, it's like someone asks you this question, you've already thought about that rule, and therefore it makes decision-making easier? And I'll go with you, Josh, first. So, Josh, what's a rule at Living Water Irrigation that you've learned over the years, maybe trial and error, maybe it's an intentional plan, but what is a rule that you've decided to make for yourself that has made your life easier?
So for me and for us, for my wife and I only say yes to things that draw me closer to my goals. Or you can look at that the opposite way. If I say no to everything that doesn't bring me closer to God or closer to relationships, help us in business, help us in my marriage. So anything that doesn't feed my F6, I just automatically say no to.
So you say no unless it's helping you get closer to your F6 goals.
Yes, sir.
I hear that more and more. As we interview more and more successful people, you hear them say, you got to say no to grow.
Right.
So let's think about that. So if I were to call you and say, hey, do you want to come to this men's networking event? It's a great way to meet people in the Bixby area, a great opportunity.
No, thank you,
generate
Clay.
leads, you'd say no?
No, thank you.
Okay, because you've already thought about it.
Yep.
Say no to everything.
Yes.
Unless it gets you closer to your F6 goals.
That's correct.
Okay, Matt, you can one-up us both because I'm trying to give everybody 3 strict rules that will set you free. Matt, what's a rule?
Yeah, for me, because my time is very important to me, and because I have multiple things going on at the same time, I have gotten to the point where, to me, if I am not getting something done, I will put somebody else in my place to do it better than me, and then I manage that person instead of trying doing it myself. That has been the number one thing for me in terms of just letting go to grow instead of saying, I'm going to do this. It's the long, you took my first one, which is just put everything on my schedule. But instead of trying to do everything myself, the way I relieved a lot of time and commitment and stress and was able to really get things done is by, instead of saying I'm going to do it myself, I said, there's somebody else that can do it better. It's either my employees or my manager or something. And I said, do it. I'll check in with you in an hour. Right? And so to me, it was delegating so that I could free up my time and I'd stop messing things up.
And that's so powerful, Matt. You know, I mean, Clay and I talked about it a couple years ago with Living Water, and I think there's a lot of listeners out here that need to jump on that. And Clay told me hey, Josh, you're going to have to hire some people. Josh, you got to hire some people. Josh, you need to hire somebody to do that. Josh, hire somebody to do that. And I kept holding on to it. And then I realized, hey, as soon as I let go of that thing, now I can jump onto something that's going to help move the needle way more for Living Water.
Now, if you are looking for a whole book filled with these sort of principles where these strict rules that'll set you free, Ray Dalio has a book called Principles. He's one of the top investors of our generation, of our lifetime. Phenomenal investor. And Matt, have you read the book Principles?
I've not.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go over some bonus fry principles and rules from his book. That way people can read on if they want to. The book's called Principles. I'm going to read them off to you here. James, you give me you're an attorney. You can give me your take on this first notable quotable. Ray Dalio says in the book Principles, he says, having the basics, a good bed to sleep in, good relationships, good food, good sex is most important, and those things don't get much better when you have a lot of money or much worse when you have less. And the people one meets at the top aren't necessarily more special than those one meets at the bottom or in between. And his point when he was talking about it in the context of the book is just running around chasing money at all cost. At the end of the day, there's only so much money you can spend. There's only so the quality of food that you're going to have can only get so good. And so he's going, hey, let's. There's more to life than just the acquisition of money. What's your take on that? Because you're an attorney and you literally have to exchange your time for money. Do you have like a certain, as you've matured and you've grown your client base, do you kind of know what kind of client now you don't want to work with or what kind of client you do work with? Or how have you been working through that process? Because I do know a lot of attorneys who've told me, upon further review, I should not have taken on that client. Because you literally exchange time for money as an attorney. That's why attorneys have to charge so much per hour, because it's your brain. Do you have any principles that you go by? Or?
Well, so that's interesting that you say that. I was talking to a friend of mine years ago who started a practice, hung out a shingle, and he would refer to the area of practice that he would practice in terms of law, and he would call it threshold law. And I said, well, what do you mean by threshold law? And he said, well, anything that passed the threshold of my door, I would take as a case, and that's what I call threshold law.
And when you're first starting out your business, you kind of have to be that way, right? You have to.
Yeah. And so now I've been doing this for about 20 years, and I've had my own practice for about 10. And I'm getting to the point where I've told people I don't want to work with them because they're either nickel or diming. They're asking these crazy questions that I'm all about asking or having being asked questions and answering them because they need the guidance. But it's like during the group interview, you had somebody come in one time and said, I was going to ask about that, but now I'm not because now I understand. I was going to ask about overtime and ask about these things that matter more to them than they matter to you. And so it's hard to characterize now because I've asked you who you pick out during a group interview, who you select and who you don't select, and it's just a gut feeling at a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of sense that I get when I'm considering working with someone.
The group interview is another strict rule. I do the group interview every single Thursday night at 5:30. Every Thursday night at 5:30, I do the group interview. That's what time it is. So somebody texted me this week and they said, "Hey, I'd like to interview for a job," and I said, "Great, this Thursday, 5:30. I've already made the decision." So I want to recap these rules again. Again, I personally, a rule I live by is I write everything down and I never try to remember anything. 2, I say no to everything unless, Josh and I have the same rule. Just a default, the answer is no, unless it gets me closer to my F6 goals. 3, Matt's talking about delegate to elevate. But let me just give you some more bonus fry principles from the book Principles from Ray Dalio. Matt, I want to get your take on this. He says, I just want to be right. I don't care if the right answer comes from me. Matt, I'm sure you've never seen this before in the world of OXI FRESH because all the OXI FRESH franchisees are great. But have you ever tried to work with a vendor or somebody, Matt, that really doesn't care if their answer is right? All they want to do is personally be right?
It happens more time than it happens all the time. It doesn't matter if it's a vendor or a customer or an employee, right? It's just a time sucker, right? You just want to be able to get whatever situation, just solve the problem, move on to the next one. I hate wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter, like arguing or, trying to figure out if someone feels okay about what just happened, right? I really dislike the in-between time that you're trying to get something accomplished when it's just fluff, right? It's just crap. Like you're not getting anything done at that moment.
Now, Matt, I got 2 more Ray Dalio quotes for you. He says, pain plus reflection equals progress. Pain plus reflection equals progress. So something doesn't go well.
Yeah.
You reflect on it. You go, okay, what can I learn from this? And then you make progress. Matt, how long do you allow yourself to stay mad? I have the rule I live by. It's the 10-second rule, where I will just go nuts for a good 10 seconds if I have to, but then I'm good. So how long do you give yourself to go? If you're really next level, do you go 4 hours? Is it 7 days? 7 days of rage? Do you reach out to Antifa? Go, I'd like to be a member of your Antifa squad. I have some anger issues. How long do you allow yourself to stay mad when something bad happens?
It may not even be 10 minutes. What I learned is if I can keep myself busy with things that are making me proactive in terms of my goals and trying to make, whether it's money or trying to create, customers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If there's time for me to dwell on something, then I'm not busy. Right. So to me, it's a sign right there. If I'm sitting there lingering on something, if I'm sitting there lingering on in a situation that I can't really fix, or, it's just a moment of temporary insanity, which we all get, then I don't have enough to do. And that's literally what I feel like. To me, I've trained my brain to say, okay, I'm pissed, I'm mad. Now, okay, I can harp on this, or I got to do something else, or else I'm just gonna drive myself crazy. So I try to live in that world where if I'm dwelling on something, then I have way too much time on my hands.
If it's okay, I have audio, Josh. Now this audio here, a lot of times we try to get audio of our guests. And Matt, I reached out to Barnett, and I reached out to him. It appeared to be his voicemail I reached, and so I couldn't reach him. But I thought to myself, would he be okay if I mic'd Matt's home during the holidays? You know, and it appeared to me I could feel that he was okay with it. And this is audio. And Matt, you can tell us after the audio's played if this is in fact you or not.
And we just recovered this audio from last.
Yeah, this is audio where I believe Matt was anticipating a nice holiday bonus, and the holiday bonus didn't come in to the amount that you expected. And you and JB have a great relationship, right? You know, but we mic'd your home without asking during the holidays. Matt, by the way, where were you last Christmas? I just want to make sure this is in fact you. Where were you last Christmas, Matt?
I think I was at my house.
Sounds like this audio.
So
okay. How many people were at your house, Matt? Were there 7 or?
Maybe like 10.
Okay, I'm gonna keep the audio. This is what we believe to be Matt Kline freaking out during the holidays, and it turned out to be a clerical error. I mean, you ended up getting your bonus, but it came in a couple days later, and this is the audio. We believe this is you, and if it's not you, you can feel free to deny this is you. But it's pretty it's pretty clear. This is pretty strong evidence here. Let me cue it up here, Matt. This is that's Matt looking down at his envelope. He's opening up what he believes to be the bonus from corporate. The guys are at OXI FRESH corporate. That's Matt's girlfriend, now wife. He goes by the nickname Clark. At home, that's what Matt goes
with his
by.
friends, yeah.
It's bigger than you expected?
She's asking. Matt.
Smaller?
Matt.
What
Kind of
is
staring in disbelief.
He's excited about it.
It's a 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
It's really weird that Matt goes by the nickname Clark because his first name is not Clark and his last name is not Clark, but whatever. Here we go. So this is Matt.
That it is, Edward. That it is indeed.
Edward's his cousin.
I'm sorry. Clark.
This isn't the biggest bag over the head punch in the face I ever got. Go! Son.
Matt's going to the punch.
Oh, he's chugging.
It's spiked.
I think that's eggnog.
It's eggnog. Here you go. Extra soy in that. Soy eggnog.
Hey! If any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight.
Frank Shirley was. I'm not
I want
sure
him
that he
brought
works
from
in
his
OXI
happy
FRESH. but-
holiday slumber over there on Melody Lane with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, hopeless, heartless, fat, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey he is. Hallelujah! Holy Where's the Tylenol?
Oh, now, Matt, I mean, it doesn't sound like you. Was that you, Matt? I wasn't sure,
I have some of the best rants on the planet.
Okay.
So it could have been me.
But you know what I mean, though, when somebody gets so mad and they just fly off the handle, they dwell on stuff. That's why you want to have these rules that you establish. You got to say, hey, I got a rule. I'm going to allow myself to get mad for 10 consecutive seconds, then I'm moving on. You got to have a rule. I'm going to say no to grow. You got to have a rule to delegate, to elevate. You got to have these rules, and you got to write them down because when it gets stressful, you got to go back to the principles. Rumor has it the United States has a constitution where we said you have the right to peaceably gather, and we don't throw that away when fake viruses hit our shores. But we move on to the next notable quotable here. This is the final one from Dalio, Matt. Is listening to uninformed people is worse than having no answers at all. Listening to uninformed people is worse than having no answers at all. Matt, do you go out of your way to not listen to ignorant people who are passionate, or do you just listen to everyone equally, take in all the info? How do you process this misinformation age we're in, where there's so much information coming at you?
It's a huge issue right now, right? It's with everything. It's with business and politics and marketing and just friends, right? It's just a huge issue. So, I always hear people, I want you to really judge me on my character and my body of work. I would tell you to do that with every situation, every decision you make, right? I mean, you need to be making decisions that are going to be best for you, which means you got to surround yourself with people you trust, to look at their body of work. What have they done to put themselves in your circle for you to trust them, right? In terms of whether it's media or other companies that you're leaning on. I mean, it's not that hard to do research. You owe it to yourself. Right, because at the end of the day, you need to make informed decisions for what you're trying to accomplish. If every decision you make takes you a step further in the opposite direction, right, then you are really hampering your ability to grow, not only as a company, but as an individual, as someone that can manage other people, as someone that's trying to create value for your customers and your employees. So I would urge everyone, certainly at this point of what we're seeing online and TV, do take the extra step, right? Nothing wrong with going out and listening to people, but do the extra step. Look at the body of work that these individuals or who you're trying to take advice from, and see if they're worth it. See if they're worth you taking their advice. And most times you're going to see that it's probably not.
Matt, I appreciate you being on the show, and I think what people miss sometimes is that you take time out of your schedule every week to hop on this show. Meanwhile, people are still cleaning carpets at your two locations. The carpets are being cleaned. Franchises are being sold at OXI Fresh, all while you hop on this show. And that's because OXI Fresh has great systems that allow the business to run even when you're not there. If people want to put their toe in the water and look into buying an OXI Fresh, so many people have been displaced. Their industries have been shut down. They're looking for a new job. They're moving. There's just a lot of movement in the market right now. A lot of people moving into different jobs, different industries. If they go to thrivetimeshow.com/OxyFresh, thrivetimeshow.com/OxyFresh, what's going to happen if they fill out the form?
So, a few things. You're going to get an automatic email. It's going to send you with our information. You're going to talk to one of our developers, myself, Andy, or Mike, and they're very involved in OXI. They're going to be able to talk you through every situation with OXI Fresh, take you through your unique scenario where you're at in your life. They're going to be able to explain how this could be an option for you moving forward with whatever goals you have. We're going to go through all the numbers. We're going to go through all the document sharing. We're going to go through all the map review to make sure you got the right territory. And eventually, if it's a good fit, we're going to bring you out. Like the 5 groups that came out last week. We got a new franchise in Amarillo, in Indiana, in Houston, in Minneapolis.
Oh, sick.
And they started at the same process that you guys would have, just filling out the form and trying to figure out if this is an option for you.
Hey, real quick, the guys who came in to visit you from Minneapolis, were they members of Antifa?
They were not.
Matt, okay, let me try another way. If you're not
They
gonna
were
answer,
not.
if you're not
Very against those.
If you're not going to answer the question honestly, I'm going to go through a pop quiz. Did they roll up? Did they show up on a bicycle?
Certainly not. We actually flew them to Denver on a plane.
Sounds credible. I'll give you 1 mega point on the vetting process. Were they wearing all black? Were their faces covered? And were they yelling horrible things at you?
Nope. We have such a relaxed atmosphere. The one gentleman who came with a polo T-shirt and a backwards hat.
So far, they've passed. Matt, this is how you know if someone's a member of Antifa or not. I'm going to have a few more questions because it sounds right now like they're good people, but you never know. Did they carry a Molotov cocktail? Like a makeshift bomb?
They did not. We did have a cocktail during the week, but it was not one that you could throw at someone.
Did they reference George Soros 8 or 9 times during the conversation?
Now it's a negative. No George Soros.
Did they show up while carrying an odd amount of ill-fitting retail goods that look like they might have been taken from a retail store, all different shoe sizes? Did they show up pushing a shopping cart filled with all different goods? Matt, answer the question. Quit playing around.
No, in fact, we gave them an OXI FRESH T-shirt.
Did they have massive containers of spray paint everywhere with them on their person?
No, but we did give them a pin to write on our walls that are all Expo.
It sounds like they were not members of Antifa. Good job, Matt. Way to vet them.
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Folks, if you're out there and you're not a member of Antifa, go to thrivetimeshow.com/OXIFresh, thrivetimeshow.com/OXIFresh, and fill out the form and see if being an OXI Fresh franchisee is the right move for you and your family to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Matt, you're a great American. I hope you have a great rest of your day, my friend.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate it. Have an awesome rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, take care. Bye. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!